Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. If you are watching the video here, you can see that we are in a very different setup. I am here with a very special guest, my friend, a member of Stylist Soul Tribe, Grace Stephenson. We are in her beautiful new salon home. We have Rory here as well. If you're listening on audio, we have the cutest sleeping pup right in between us, so definitely check out the video. It will be worth watching. So Grace and I have known each other. We've been acquainted for many years now, but we've gotten much closer over the last couple of years as Grace joined Soul Tribe, and it's been really cool to watch your journey. And so a few weeks back, I put something on my Instagram story about people coming on and being on the podcast, and she was like, I would love to. And then I was already coming to get my eyebrows done today by Grace, so we're like, let's do it in person. So we have a whole camera set up. Thankfully, her salon has such beautiful lighting. We didn't even need lighting. It looks amazing in here. So yeah, Grace, go ahead and give a little introduction, who you are.
Hello, I'm Grace Stephenson. I'm the owner of Verdant Salon and Suites here in Lincoln, Illinois. And I just moved in the beginning of March.
And we're recording this in May, so just a couple months ago.
Just a little bit ago, yeah. I'm a mama of two and wife to my husband, Sterling. So we'll go back to, I graduated high school a little bit early. Okay. I was homeschooled through high school. I graduated just like a month early, and I was like, all right, I'm going into this. So I hopped right into cosmetology school.
What year?
2014.
Okay.
Yep. And then in 2015, I graduated. So I graduated. It took me 12 months to figure out the whole situation with cosmetology school. I interned at a salon while I was still in school. That's part of how I got to graduate just a little bit early. And they hired me right on from there. That was Salon G in Bloomington. I was the baby stylist there. So I've worked in a couple of different dynamics, but that one was kind of fun.
Did they have an assistant program, or you just kind of went straight out?
No, I just kind of went straight in. I booked some appointments, and I was, like everybody else, you clean hair and wash down the shampoo bowls and
kept
bottles
quite a few
and all that.
redos in the beginning.
Oh yeah. And so I was there for a little bit. While I was there, I worked at Reality Bites, which is a restaurant in Bloomington. They're a nice tapas restaurant. So I worked at the salon from 9 to 5, and then I scurried my little butt across town and worked from 5:30 to 9 o'clock or 10.
Wow.
A couple nights a week, and somehow still had time for a social life and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I also babysat during that time. So
yeah, you were hustling.
Yeah. I still had time to go to the $5 movie nights, all that good stuff.
Good memories that time.
Yeah.
When did you start dating Sterling?
20.
Were you with him during that time? Oh, okay.
No, actually, when I was at that salon, I was dating another guy, and one of the girls there was like, why are you not dating that guy? Because Sterling would show up in his motorcycle after school.
Oh,
he would tip me the same amount as his haircut price.
You cut his hair. That's how you guys met. I didn't know that.
No, we met in junior high, actually.
Okay.
We met at church.
Okay.
And he's like, I remember what room we're in. I have no idea. I was like the new kid on the block. I'd never been to church before. So we were friends through junior high and high school. High school, through this very long and awkward text, he was like, oh, so I have a crush on you. And I was like, no, you don't. Sorry.
Stop. That's funny.
So we had a little awkward period, I'm going to say 6 months, where we just didn't talk to each other, kind of whatever.
You broke his heart a little bit?
I did. I broke his heart, poor guy. Went on to date another guy, came back.
But that one coworker knew.
Yeah, she knew. I definitely sent them wedding invitations, and she was like, I can't come, but I told you so,
That's so sweet.
But yeah, he later down the road, we started hanging out again, and actually I called him because I had car trouble, and that's the fastest I've ever seen him up dressed out of bed in another location in my whole life.
That's so sweet.
And I was like, hey, can you come and can I pay you first of all? And he was like, no, absolutely not. So he helped me with some art projects and
that's
stuff.
Such a cute love story.
And then the next day he came over for dinner, and later down the road his dad was like, so are you guys dating now or what? And I was like, we should probably figure that out.
Yeah.
So
he's like, well, I tried a long time ago and you shut me down, so I was waiting for you to give me the go-ahead.
Okay.
All right, so you were at that salon, and then where did you go from there?
So after that, my youngest two sisters, I'm one of 5.
Okay.
They were in ballet and had different recitals, and they're like, you can never come to anything. And so I moved to Lincoln to be closer to home, to be closer to them.
Driving about 30 minutes every day,
Yeah, so I worked, and my boss actually at that old salon retired, and she was like, here's this other salon that you can go to. She's really willing to work with you. It was a booth rent salon. I had like 3 clients to my name that weren't family, and so I was like, that's terrifying. Yeah. So I found a like commission-based salon.
Felt a little safer.
Yeah, here in town, and I was there for almost a year. It wasn't quite a good fit. Yeah. And so then I looked for another opportunity, still here in Lincoln, same town. And then I was there for 4 years, and that's where I did a ton of
That's
growth.
when I feel like I moved to Lincoln. Like when I moved, I remember you working there. Yeah. That's like when I knew of you.
Yeah, so did a lot of like learning professionally and personally. Sterling and I like got married while we were there. I had 1 kiddo. I had I was pregnant with Oliver, and then management things kind of shifted a little bit, and then you know, policies and things changed. So I just needed a little bit more flexibility after I had Oliver. So I opened up a suite, and I was there for 2 years, and then also welcomed Evelyn into the scenario, and now she's like 8 months, and Oliver's almost 3.
I remember when you had Oliver. Yeah, it flies. My kids are 11 and 8, and it just is crazy how fast it goes. So you were in your suite for a couple of years. You joined Soul Tribe when you were in the suite. How long have you been in Soul Tribe? It's obviously been over a year, because you were at the retreat, which was a year ago.
Yeah, it was in the summer. I remember that. So this is probably 2 years coming up.
Yeah.
Because I just remember like really liking the flexibility, and like I was like, I don't want to work nights and I don't want to work weekends. And so for a little bit I did work like every other Saturday, but eventually was encouraged to like phase that out. I remember you saying like you won't regret any of it, and I since then like every once in a while will wake up and have like a slow morning, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, I don't miss that.
So. I mean, I say it all the time, like very few industries can you truly work whatever you want. So I think it's such a shame to hear these, you know, stylists who, and I know this hasn't always been the case, this wasn't the truth that we were all kind of, whether brainwashed to think or whatever, but for a stylist to go all the way from joining the industry to retiring one day or not, you know, and having the story of they always have to work nights and weekends, like that's just such a shame. You literally don't have to. And so to be in this industry, I mean, should you sometimes when you're growing, will it help you grow faster? Absolutely.
It just depends on what your priorities are.
But you were having kids, your life was changing, you were okay with, you know, it's not like your sole goal at that time was to make as much money as you possibly could. You wanted balance. You needed enough money to pay the bills, but you really cared about time at home. And I think if that is someone's circumstances, then that makes a lot of sense for that to be their situation. So when you joined Soul Tribe, do you remember like what it was exactly that you were looking for? Did you know you wanted to be a salon owner even back then? Okay.
No. If you would have told me like 2 years ago, be like, oh, you're going to open a salon, I probably would have laughed at you.
Really?
Yeah.
So you thought, I'm just going to be comfy cozy in my suite for a while.
Yeah, I thought that's just where I was going to land.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I didn't want to like a salon off my home. I was like, I definitely want that like separation there. And maybe if I like had like a double suite or something and worked like, if I found like a best friend or something that way, then maybe, but salon owner, probably not.
Yeah, that wasn't. But, so when did that change?
Actually, one of the, I don't know exactly when it changed. Like, I know that at some point God was like, hey, here's this thing and you're really going to do it. And I was like, okay, that's hilarious, but where? And then Ethan, he owns Guest House right next door to the salons. Lovely coffee shop. If you're ever here, check it out.
Yeah, quick overview, especially for those listening. If you guys don't know, so when I first started building my business in like 2016, I was in Thrivers, all that stuff, how most of you probably found me that are listening to this. I moved to this town. I was not from here. It's a small town of like 14,000 people, Lincoln, Illinois. I'm looking at the courthouse right in front of me right now. Grace is on the square, very much like downtown. Lincoln. Yeah, and so I moved in to the area, didn't know anybody, was doing all these things. I went to classes at Evolve, got to know kind of all of these stylists. But once you're in Lincoln, anyone who's from a small town kind of knows that there's certain names and businesses and faces and really prominent people. And Ethan is one of those. Maybe we'll have a clip of this that he'll see one day. But he owns the coffee shop that I feel did so much for this town. Like, I remember when Guest House opened, and then it was Spirited shortly after that. Spirited Republic is this like cute little craft beer kind of bar. And it went from like kind of this dead ghost town downtown to there's some really neat businesses you can tell trying to breathe some new life into this town. And I think you stumbling on this building, like this, I
It
wish
was
you guys
amazing.
could see. You see the tiniest part. This is a massive space. Like,
Yeah, it's I think it's 2,600 square feet in here. It's
I feel like
huge.
this is going to be a cornerstone of Lincoln for probably that's
I
your
hope so.
legacy, you know. So yeah, how did you find that this was available, and what even made you open?
So I'm a part of a group called Kingdom Initiatives, and they're a group of Christian business owners here locally. And Ethan invited me, and he was like, "Hey, come check out this thing. You know, I think you'd really like it." And I was like, "Okay." But he actually was looking to purchase this building and was like, "Yeah, come check it out. There's office spaces up above where I'm at." And so he was like,
this was
"You
a
could
couple
have."
years ago when that was still available, or this was recently?
Well, this is when he was looking to purchase the building. What was that, last spring?
Okay.
And so he showed us the upstairs, and he's like, "You could have Grace's chair 2.0 up here." And I was like, well, I would definitely need something like handicap accessible because I, one, already have clients that need that.
And that's a core value of yours. Yeah.
So, and then we kind of started talking. There's also a meat market next door. So they were talking about taking up the whole space. And so they ended up not. And so I was like, well, I would be interested in that. So we kind of went back and forth for a really long time. Mind you, I was like super pregnant when I was like looking at this
she
space.
Was gonna get this space. I'm like, you're about to have a baby any day. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's like.
Because I remember you asking me like, is this okay? Does this feel okay? Do you
also,
feel like you can do this?
And I didn't want to be rude in that, but I also feel like your hormones are so wild when you're in pregnancy, and that people go through postpartum, and I'm like, are you locking yourself in? I mean, you were like applying for loans and stuff. I'm like, are you locking yourself into a wise decision in this moment? And the amount of clarity you had, though, like as soon as you answered, I was like, okay, she's sound. She's making that. She knows. Yeah.
I feel like God was like, yep. There's been multiple things where I'm like, okay, well, if this is how it's supposed to be, then this is how it's going to happen. And the timing of everything in hindsight, just seeing how that like
just flowed together,
went into place, I was like, this is amazing.
Oh, that's so special and so cool. And then you went to the retreat last year, and I feel like did you know you wanted to open this last year? Okay.
Yeah, I knew
and
that.
So your hot seat was centered around that.
Yeah. So I went to the retreat, and my clients were like, what was it about? And I was like,
I
can't tell you. But like also I was so glad to be pregnant because that's what I was talking about. So if I didn't have anything like big or exciting to talk about, I'm sure that I would have spilled the beans to multiple people. So
and it ended up coming to fruition, so it would have been fine. But that's what I always coach people to too. They're like, how soon should I tell my clients? And
like,
what I've learned, what I've learned is like whatever your due date is, like salon wise, not baby wise, whatever your date is, whatever your date is that you think you're going to open, it's going to be longer. Whatever your budget is that you think it's going to be, it's going to be higher.
It's going to
like
be more.
Just don't even get attached to anything, because that's just not how it goes. So I always tell people, just wait until you have the keys and it's like you can take a client to say anything, or else something could come up, a pipe could burst, things could happen, you get stuck on permits or something like that, and you just have to wait forever. So
the retreat was super helpful, because at the time I thought I wanted this place to be suites, and I thought I was going to like divide everything up into these spaces, and then I kind of thought about that. So if you would have told me then, be like, oh no, you're going to be doing commission again, it would have been like, I'm laughing at you. But like the way that my mindset has changed around all of this, just so like fluidly and organically, has been really nice, because it was originally going to be suites, and I was like, I want a shampoo bowl in everybody's room.
I remember you, and we're like, that's going to be expensive if you want that. Oh
my gosh, absolutely not. That's way too much. But I was thinking that, and then I was like, full booth rental, and now I've even come around to this. I've had people ask me, are you going to do commission? And I love the I love the admin side of it. I love the numbers side of the salon. I love doing hair, and I love visiting with my clients, and I love that like one-on-one space. But like my love in this industry is educating. Like the whole reason that I am behind the chairs, because I want to give you a solution to whatever problem it is that's fits your lifestyle. And so I feel like,
and you've gone so hard on building your business the last few years, and I got to that point too where like once you've done it and you've seen success, you're like, I just want to share this with other people. Like anybody can do it. And to the point where I'm almost like, it doesn't even matter if it's hair. Business skills are business skills that like I just want to share it with everybody. Because like we could all have this. You got a skill set, you've got a talent, you've got something you want to sell. Like anybody can do this if they have that entrepreneurial itch. So I totally relate to that and understand that. And I think you should really be commended for just how much you're just going with the flow with all of it, you know, like, and that's the thing is you could be so set in your ways, but then you would have taken out probably way more debt. You would have been in a different situation. And if somebody's falling into your lap and they're like, I want to be commissioned, you have all these people in your pocket that I know Soul Tribe, the owners group, has helped you so much. And it's like, you feel a little bit less nervous because there's people that are like, no, I've done it. Like, here's what I've learned. You can do this, you know, but some people seek out a commission salon because truthfully, in the long run, it is more profitable. And so if that's just falling into your lap, why be super against it just because you're afraid of the responsibility,
I think I thought it was going to happen like later down the road. And like my brain, I was like, oh yeah, I could do that after my kids are in school or after whatever. Yeah. I bought a salon while I was pregnant. Like, whatever.
So clearly there's no rules here. Yeah. So obviously it's been like a faith thing and a God thing. Is there anything else you can think of for somebody listening when they like have that itch, but they just, because it's almost like it's never the right time. Like, so can you think back
onto like when I was finding the place or
any step along the way? Because I feel like we would meet in these Soul Tribe calls and you'd be like, oh yeah, now this is happening. I was like, oh, I thought this was just like an idea we were throwing around. And then before I knew it, I was standing in the building, you had the keys in your hand, you know? So like, I don't know if you could go back to tell yourself or if you could tell somebody else, it's that fine line of like risk and also go for it if you know you're supposed to go for it.
I feel like I should have like some super wise words of wisdom, but I really don't. Like, I kind of joke that I have a spidey sense and I'm like, just listen to it. And most of the time it's right. And if it's wrong, you checked it and you were like,
and it was
it's
a
not
lesson
available.
you were supposed to learn. So I love that.
There's that little nugget, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you've been here, you said 2 months now. When Grace proposed this podcast idea, she was saying, I put an Instagram story out, like someone gave me an idea that I should do like live coaching call podcast episodes, and you're like, I'd be down. We could do that. So before we hit record, she was doing my eyebrows, and we were trying to think of like what we could kind of dive into coaching that will be valuable for Grace, will be valuable for those listening. And you were saying what you're struggling with right now, kind of schedule. Why don't you, I guess, explain to me and explain to them, and I don't know if I'm gonna have all the answers, but we can definitely hash it out together. Yeah.
So right now I'm behind the chair Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Wednesday. And before in the suite I had like those Wednesdays as more admin days.
Every other Wednesday?
Every other Wednesdays, which ended up being like roughly 4 hours a week, and so I just kind of fit it wherever it needed to be. Sometimes you really need to answer this urgent email or whatever it is. So just trying to figure out like how much extra time do I either need to add into my schedule, or like how do I tell my stylist, all right, this is how much, like how many hours that you can work, what's realistic that way for somebody for starting out. Because in my brain, it's like you start with one like opportunity day, and then once that's like, I don't know, 80% booked, then you add another one. And then how much time do you actually need for like the training part or the cleaning of the salon or whatever it is. So
yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think I have all the answers to that because I haven't been in that exact situation, but I'm assuming you've proposed that in the owners group. I would ask that. But what I like to do with my calendar, and I don't know if everybody's like this, and I think some people almost like more flex than this, but like my days are so crystal clear what they are. Mondays are Soul Tribe days on calls. Tuesdays I'm behind the chair. Wednesdays are L&O, so I had a team meeting in the morning, and then the rest is admin day. Thursdays are behind the chair, Fridays all admin day, and then Saturdays and Sundays are untouched. You cannot put anything on my calendar. That's non-negotiable. Some of the people that I've wanted to have on the podcast have like proposed a weekend. That's a no for me. You know, I'll never do that. So I would almost just think of it as that, like what hat can you put on each day of the week, or even if it's like a half a day this hat, a half a day this hat. That to me, I don't know what your personality type is, but like for me it's like, okay, I'm going to sleep on Tuesday, I know tomorrow what hat of Lisa I'm wearing. And that's just helpful for me. So like I would maybe spend some time writing out like what needs to be done under each of these hats. That's what we were saying when she was waxing my eyebrows. She's like, when do I do admin? I'm like, when are you the janitor? When do you do all of these things? And so I would maybe, and this could be a good like post-it planning session, I would maybe dump all of these tasks that are currently for Grace to figure out.
a task list of like what needs to happen daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly.
And is that mixed marketing, cleaning, like, or
most of it was like what needs to happen for the salon to run,
like
so
operations?
Like so probably I need to like add everything into there,
those,
and then from there divide it into like this is an admin task, this is a whatever, and then figure out how much time each of those takes, and then
allow some flexibility too, because there's always going to be fires to put out. But then at least, and I'm trying to think of who this was. Oh, I won't say her name, I'm guessing because she doesn't want to. But we just had a hot seat inside of Soul Tribe, and it was a salon owner, and she kept using this verbiage. Were you on? Mm-hmm. Okay, she kept. Yes, you were really poured into her. Yeah. She kept.
I was listening partly in the shower.
Yes, I remember you came on. Her camera was on. I didn't see her naked or anything, but I saw the loofahs, and I'm like, Grace, turn your camera off. We're in the shower with you.
There's no way to join with the camera off.
Oh, that is so funny. You're like up at the ceiling.
Yeah, I was like, you guys can see the ceiling. I was almost done. I just needed rinse off.
That is hilarious. But she kept using this verbiage of I went from working 4 days a week to working 3 days a week. And we were telling her, and she was slower. As an owner whose team was thriving, her stylists were getting a lot busier and her books were slowing down. She also had a lot of personal stuff going on in her life, and like she needed her books to slow down. That's what I was trying to figure out in that hot seat. Like, are we going marketing with this? Do you need more clients, or is this you evolving into an owner role? And she kept using the word working, and then we're like, well, you could go 2 days a week and not have any gaps. And she's like, oh, that feels so lazy. And it's like, just recognizing that when you're an owner, being behind the chair
is not your only job.
Working hours. Like, if you can work 4 hours a week as an owner behind the chair, but you're actually working a 40-hour week with all the other tasks. And so I think just stepping into an ownership role and having that mentality of like, I wear a lot of hats here. When can I, make my personal time sacred and isn't touched, but then when can I break up when I'm serving clients, when I'm serving my stylist, when I'm serving my space and my environment, when I'm marketing, when I'm putting all of that on. So I would say also that task list, wherever it lives, is probably going to be continually evolving.
That, I've been a little bit working on like setting that kind of thing up in Motion, which is a task managing software for those of you guys that don't know. And I have found it to be super, super helpful. So probably once I get those all plugged in, that'll feel really good. Another thing that I do for just like time blocking that I would encourage everybody to do if you're not already doing it is, I call it mom time off, but it's just like a white space to give yourself your own time to your own self. And my husband and I, we each have like a night where we don't cook dinner, we're not in charge of like house chores or putting the kids to bed.
I love that. And so you're not working, you're also not caring to the kids, you are just
doing your own thing. And I usually am like, I'm out of the house, I take myself out to Mexican. And usually I would come and sit in here just because it's quiet, but
peaceful. I'm like, makes you happy.
Yeah. And then
what day of the week is that for you?
Wednesday night.
I love that. That's so
every
important.
Wednesday night, I'm like, I don't cook dinner, I don't clean, I don't whatever. And occasionally Sterling will have like some kind of work situation where he's like,
you're flex.
He's late or whatever. Or sometimes I just move it to a different day. Or I'm like, all right, Saturday morning,
but the fact that you both respect each other enough to give each other that, I think that's huge.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of just white space in the calendar. Anywhere you can fit it. Like I pocketbook whenever I need to, whenever I'm starting to feel like, okay, I'm feeling a little time poor, whether it's my kids' sports or my clients behind the chair, I'm super booked, or Soul Tribe, is adding something new, and I will go in and I'll just pretend like I'm blocking almost like a 2-hour color of this or that, and it's just free. Because I hate that feeling of like there's not enough hours in the day, and I can already tell that this week is just going to go by in a flash. So I'm a big fan of white space as well. So I really think, as much as I wish we could like whiteboard it out, is I would write all of those tasks and then divide them up into like these hats or these personalities or these whatever roles. And then eventually the cool thing with if you really systematize it like that and create this, SOP, standard operating procedure, is eventually that can be trained and passed to somebody else.
You can delegate. I love it. I'm working on a lot of like automation things, so that feels right up my alley to eventually be able to do that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Hopefully that's a good answer. I feel like that's just the only way to do it. It's going to be so unique to you, and also it's going to change probably every quarter.
Probably.
Literally.
Yeah.
Like your kids are going to get older, they're going to be in a sport. This one stylist is going to need more from you than this other one, and you just have to be kind of flex with it. But also, I think the only way to not burn out is to mark you first, and you know, and then work in levels.
Well, and we have so much noise coming at us all the time that like it's insane to like our phone is one of our distractions, music, podcasts, like
always
in our Bible study group we're actually talking about solitude right now, and it's so powerful to just turn off all the noise.
Yeah, it is. And I've said this before on the podcast, but I think it's really important whenever you hear people they kind of jokingly say it. You can say they've said it for years or they heard somebody else say it when they're like, oh, I can't be alone with my thoughts. Like, that's a scary place to be. I can't do that. That is like the biggest red flag to me. If somebody feels that way, like, I'm not judging you, but like, get to the bottom of that ASAP, because if you don't like being alone with you, how is anybody else going to like being alone with you, you know?
Well, I remember like at the retreat, people were like that about meditation even. Like, it's a practice. You just start with a minute or two, and if your brain goes off onto another subject, just acknowledge that and then bring it back to focusing on your breathing or whatever it is, because, you know, there's physical, I don't know if you've talked about it on here, but there's, you know, different forms of meditation. So some of it is just like going for a walk by yourself without listening to music, podcast, put your phone on airplane mode, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I mean prayer. I mean, there's so many different forms and versions for different people and what that means for them. But when people say like, oh, well, my brain just goes like dark, like I just think about dark things, I get sad when I'm alone with my thoughts. It's like, well, those are the like knocks of like healing that needs to be done. Those are the things you need to work on. Like, don't just drown that out with noise and other things, because it's not going to go away. Like, I highly encourage people to just sit in that, and if it is uncomfy, what is the root of that uncomfy thing? And that's the work that you're being called
usually
to do
it's
next.
like a sadness or an anger or something, and if you're a believer, that's something you could just give to God. You can give those big raw emotions to him, and then hopefully later down that kind of thought process you find a little bit of encouragement or hope or something you kind of need to work on within yourself. And
if it's deeper and just passing it to God in that moment isn't getting it gone, then explore. Is that therapy? Is that, you know, what do you need personally to dig into that? But you don't just drown it out. I'm a huge fan. I don't even know how we went that direction, but I agree.
There's a lot of people, we get stuck in this like thought cycle of like, usually it's like your inner critic being like, oh, you're terrible at this, you're whatever it is, and you're just stuck in you're just stuck in that loop. And it only takes one thing to move you like a little bit bigger in that circle or knock you off that path just a little bit for you to get out of that like rut.
Like, give us an example.
So like, let's say you're like, oh my gosh, my timing stinks with my clients right now.
I'm so slow, blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
so
blah,
slow.
blah. I'm never going to make enough money.
All of that. It only takes one time of you being like, well, actually, it's because I take my time with my clients. I really want to connect with them, whatever. Hopefully that makes your thought circle of that process.
Something else.
Yeah, either move to something else or just get bigger. So it takes you longer to get back to that thought of, well, my timing sucks, or whatever that is. So
where did that originally come from?
So my husband is obsessed with a guy on YouTube named Dr. K. He's like healthy gamer guy. He talks a lot about
recommendations like that.
He talks a lot about like ADHD and anxiety, and kind of connects the like Western and Eastern medicines of like, okay, well, deep breathing exercises help. Yeah, they help when you have like anxiety or you need to focus or whatever, but why? And it's because it slows down your blood flow. When you do like, you'll hear people do like an inhale, you know, for 2 counts and an exhale for 6 or 4 or whatever it is. Like, I don't remember all of his tips, like go check them out, but stuff like that. I'm like, that makes total sense. So I'd love seeing the connection of like...
Well, I've never heard that before about that loop, but I get what you're saying. It's almost like you're building up enough proof to yourself that you don't get to stay in that beat yourself up cycle. Because whether the answer is, okay, I'm going to work on my timing and I'm going to get faster, or I'm going to double down on this and lean into it, and it's going to be part of my messaging of like, that's what makes me better. It's like each time, I've never thought about when the thought comes back. And you can think as a human how you've grown, like thoughts thoughts that used to come up that no longer do. And I've never heard of that before. Hopefully the algorithm is good enough that it starts to show me Dr. K on its own. That tends to happen whenever I talk about something. He might show up on my YouTube recommended. I love that. So what would you say, Grace? Obviously, we're in Verdant. It's still a baby. It's not fully painted. I love that you've just also embraced the mess. I remember when Grace was talking about doing her grand opening. She's like, you know, my family is telling me, oh, we got to have it ready by now. Like, we can't show it off to people until it's ready. Do I keep paying rent in my own studio before taking clients here? And you totally have just embraced, like, this is a work in progress. It always will be. So I guess, like, what's your vision? Where do you hope to go from here?
So, like, what do I want to have done next in here, or like
we could start with that, but then like overall, like bigger vision, like I'd love to know that.
Oh my goodness. So right now, if you're watching us, we have like my little retail waiting area. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And then I have the shampoo room, which I call the lather lounge. Also like beautiful space. So actually, let me give like a little bit of like where even Verdant even came from.
Yeah, do it.
So Verdant means green with growth. So I want the salon to be a place of growth in all of the ways that you can think of. So for like the professional, for the planet, just personally, all of the things. So, or I should say green in all of those ways. So that could be money, recycling, like all of those things. Like I use Inner Here. They're an organic line. Love them.
Can I just add something that you maybe didn't even notice went with the brand, with the green, if that's really something that you're leaning into? You wanted these like established stylists to rent, and you're finding that really green stylists are coming to you. Like they're really
really new. Yeah.
So maybe you even lean into that, and you realize that's what you asked
I love
for.
It.
Yeah.
I love it.
Keep going. Sorry.
And then I'm assuming they can just like look up what my logo looks like, but it kind of looks like a tulip. It's like a line art image, and so you'll see like one side is mountains and the other side is
I'm
ocean.
looking at it right now.
Yeah, and then there's
that.
like the sun in the middle, and that's kind of like the middle of the tulip. But I think that everyone, when they relax, is either an ocean person or a mountain person. Like that's where you go to have your like relaxation, white space, connect with yourself, whatever you want to say with that. And so I want when you come in, you're either like you feel like you're in a cabin or you're in a beach house or whatever your like relaxation place is. Like that's what I want.
I love that
for the salon. So which people are like, how did you even come up with this name? I'm like, I don't even remember the process.
I remember
like,
when
I
you
remember
first
shared
it with me. Yeah.
What do you remember about it?
I just remember it was on Polo, and you were explaining what it meant. Because at first I was like, you said Verdant something, and I didn't.
Oh, I said, okay, so you can take this out if you need to. But I originally really wanted...
I know what you're going to say, and I'm going to leave it. Keep going,
is Verdant and Vigor. Like, I liked the, like, two names, and then... I can't remember if it was my mom or my husband who was first like, no, that sounds like a sex situation. And I was like, oh.
Verdant and Vigor, yeah. And I remember you sharing that with me.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not what I wanted to be your first impression.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and when I remember you saying it, I don't think I would have thought that on my own, but once you said it, I couldn't unthink it. Yeah. And then I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Actually, it might have been my sister. I really can't remember, but now I really love Verdant.
I love Verdant too. And maybe Vigor can be like a second salon one day or something.
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe that's the big evolution. Yeah. So any more about like the branding or how you got here?
I mean, I remember when I was doing like the naming process, it was like, okay, what do I want people to see, feel, smell, like all of that
And you worked with like a branding company, right?
I did. Yeah, I worked with Double Oak Branding here in town.
Which makes sense to local people, doesn't to other people.
Yeah, but they're a local place here in town.
Look into it if you're local,
Or if you're not, they'll help you online too.
Okay. Well, then say it a little louder. What is it?
Double Oak Branding.
Okay. And that's Jamie's husband, right?
Yeah.
Because I've never worked with them, but Jamie does my facials and okay.
Her husband and then their friend Ethan.
Love.
Frontone, which is different Ethan that owns the building. But anyway. Very
Small
confusing.
Understand.
Anyway, they were super helpful because another thing that I really loved, I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with House of Color. I want anybody that works here for the colors here to work with their like personal color season. Yeah, their season. And so that was like a whole big thing. I was like, I can't figure this out by myself. This is what I know. Here's my whole life story. And they helped me come up with some like brand elements. And so there was a couple of different
you thought about all the
directions.
5 senses. You thought about, the symbolism behind things, how you want people to feel, and brought all of that to life. And then, what's the vision, I guess, moving forward?
I just want this place to be essentially what I had when I opened my suite. I was like, I love the freedom that I have. I love the flexibility that I have. And the thing that I was missing was support, like in-person support. So that's what I want this place to be. And I have found a ton of support in Soul Tribe. It's amazing to just like pop on Marco Polo and be like, I'm doing this thing in like 5 minutes. What do I do? Or I had this thing happen to me and it really sucked and I just need for you to talk me off the ledge. And it happens, right then and there.
It's probably happening right now while we're talking.
Probably. Probably. So.
But you saw, you've worked in salons, and again, this isn't to throw shade or anything like that at anybody. Everyone has their own values and their own truths, but you saw locally that you couldn't find that in a salon setting.
Yeah.
And you're
and I think, I've said this before, but I think like hair salons are like restaurants. Like your favorite's Mexican, my favorite's my favorite's Mexican.
I like Mexican too.
But this person's Italian, this person likes Chinese, or whatever it is. That doesn't mean that restaurant's bad or that kind of food is bad.
Or they're a different time. Yeah.
It just means that this one's your favorite and you like how
different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
And so that it's the truth, and that if you can have it, others can have it. So let this be a place that people can come and have whatever version of that they want.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious this is going to be a hard question to answer, so we'll see if you can do it or not. You've already said, if I told you 2 years ago that you were going to own a salon one day, if I told you a year ago that it wasn't going to be suites, like, what do you think 5 years from now Grace is going to think while watching this?
Oh my gosh.
I know that's so tricky because you don't know what life's going to give you.
I don't know. Okay, well, I'll say this. Somebody was like, do you think you'd ever move? And I was like, if I move, it's because I have sold this business and I've moved to like North Carolina. Okay. And somebody was like, well, what if you just opened another location there? And then go back and forth. And I'm like, that sounds like a project for not right now. Like,
yeah.
So, eventually I would love to be by the beach, and maybe that's just like I have a second house somewhere or
that's
something.
What you were just
but
saying
like
about me thinking about moving to Arizona.
I love Lincoln.
And we stayed
I love our
put,
little small town feel, and just because we're surrounded by cornfields doesn't mean we need to look like we're surrounded by cornfields.
I have a feeling that 5 years from now you're going to watch this episode back and things are going to be a lot less green in the fact of being brand new, and I just already see it. This is going to be like a cornerstone of this town.
Well, I hope all 6 chairs are filled, and I'd love to have a massage therapist or a lash tech, or I don't know, just whatever you want.
And
whatever
you
want to do.
Space here.
So much space.
Yeah. So education's really important for you. She's doing her first class next week. I'm coming to it.
I want to be a hub for education. I was thinking locally, but then one of my friends is coming. Well, I feel like we can say Lauren. Lauren's
from Soul
coming.
Tribe. She's coming all the way from Indiana, bringing her team. So it doesn't have to be local.
So.
The internet makes the world a much smaller place.
Yeah, it does.
So just giving back to the industry and to local stylists and beyond. I love that. Cool. Do you have any other thoughts or any other questions or anything else you feel like we should dive into?
I just really love Rory.
I
just
know.
Snoozing through this
I'm
whole
really telling
thing.
you guys, it has been so. He was laying over there before, and we were like, we really should get him in the video frame.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this video, if you're listening to this on audio, you really need to at least peek at YouTube. Yeah. I'm probably going to do some clips for social media with him as well, because I love him too. And Rory is like your mascot. She said he turns 13 tomorrow, so all the products are 13% off this month.
For the month, yeah.
So sweet. He comes to work with you every single day, or no?
Yeah, every single day. When I was going on maternity leave, I had people asking me. They're like, is Rory going to come back?
Rory?
Yeah, with Leisha. She filled in for me while I was on maternity leave.
If you guys have been listening to the podcast, you know Leisha at this point. She did traveling hairstylist with Grace. Yeah. So sweet.
Yeah. And I was like, no, Rory's he's gonna stay home with me.
Home with the baby. Yeah. Amazing. Becoming a big brother again. Okay. Well, I think we can wrap it up with that then. I feel really good about this. I'm excited to watch this back when, this was a baby and see how much you grow and evolve from here. So thank you.
Thank you for having
me.
For
letting me come and set up and get out of my usual background and my usual setting. I will have all of Grace's information in the show notes and in all the things. If you are local, check it out. She is clearly hiring. She is trying to grow this space in this salon. And just, we're all kind of the same. If you are just listening to this and you feel drawn to her story in any way, I'm assuming people can just DM you. Yeah, it's just nice to have people who have been in your shoes, maybe a step or two ahead of you, that you can pick their brain and ask them questions. So thank you, friends, for listening, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.